So let's all get together and welcome the teenage old man, Archie Campbell.
Thank you very much, Chet, and I'm certainly happy to be here in this great temple of mirth, and we're going to have a ball tonight, right? I'm going to tell you some bedtime stories. Of course, you know you can't tell bedtime stories anymore like you used to. Now, when I was a little boy, I enjoyed those tales about the three little bears and Goldilocks and things like that. It was wonderful. But you can't do that anymore. These kids are too smart. They see too many things. I started telling my little boy, he's 9. He'll be 10 in October if you don't get too smart with me. I sat him up on my knee and I started telling him about the three little bears. He said, "Oh, Daddy, don't give me that bear jazz." He said, "In the first place, I don't believe in the three little bears." He said, "I think Goldilocks was a square and Jack ain't never had a beanstalk that long." So I changed things around a little bit and told him a bedtime story and kind of twisted it up, turned the words around. I want to give the kid credit for his intelligence. That's the way I told him the story. I'll tell it to you kids. Once upon a time, there was P. Little Thrigs. Well, actually, there was more than that. There was Pama Mig and Papa Fig. Papa Fig, that don't work, does it? But anyhow, that's all together, that was 5 little figs. And one day, the first of these P. Little Thrigs, he was walking down the road and he saw a man riding a wagon. And he said, "Hey, mister," said, "would you sell me that straw to law?" He said, "I want to heal me a bounce. I'm going to build me a horse trouse." So he got the straw and he built him a horse trouse. And along came the big wad buff. And he said, "Hey, Piddelig, let me in." Piddelig says, "Not by the chair of my henny hen hen." He said, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll hold your blouse down." So he huffed and he puffed and he hold his blouse down. And he ate up the Piddle Egg. Then the second of the P. Little Thrigs, he went off down the road and he saw another man riding a wagon. And he said, "Hey, mister," he said, "would you sell me that stove of licks? I want to heal me a bouse. I'm going to build me a hick stouse." So he built him a stouse out of hicks. And along came the big wad buff. And he said, "Hey, Piddelig, let me in." Piddelig says, "Not by the chair of my henny hen hen." He said, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll hold your blouse down." So he huffed and he puffed and he hold his blouse down and he ate up the Piddle Egg. Then the third of the P. Little Thrigs, he was a little smarter, Teddy. He went off down the road and he saw another man wagon a riding. Wigging a rodin'. And he said, "Hey, mister, would you sell me that brood of licks? I want to heal me a bounce. I'm going to build me a hick brouse." So he built him a brouse out of hicks. Along came the big bad wolf, and he said, "That was a big wad wolf, wasn't it?" "Yeah." He said, "Hey, Piddlig," said, "let me in." He said, "Not by the chair of my henny hen hen." He said, "I'll huff and I'll huff and I'll hold your blouse down." So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, and he couldn't how his blouse down. You gotta be careful. He stuck his head up to the window and he said, "All right, Piddle-Leg," said, "you're absolutely root." Said, "I can't hold your blouse down," but he said to himself, said, "I'll fix him." Said, "I'll climb up on the roof and I'll chide down the Slimney." So he climbed up on the roof and he chid down the Slimney. But the third of these little thrigs, he was smart. He knew what was going on. So he ran in the kitchen and got him a great big pot of boiling hot water. And he put this pot of boiling hot water over the fireplace, and the big wad buff hit it. And as soon as he hit that water, he said, "Ouch." He said, "This is extremely painful to a wolf's gluteus maximum." So the third of the little thrigs, he ran in the kitchen right quick, and he got him a real narp shife, and he cut that big wad buff open and got his two little brothers out, and they had wolf stew for supper. And friends, that's good. Seasoned just right, you know, with pig ears and stuff. And they danced and sang, and the little thrigs lived heavily afterwards. On my way in here, I ran into a guy, and he walked up and asked me my name. He said, "Is your name Archie Campbell?" I said, "Well, it certainly is. Naturally, I know that much." And he said, "Were you in New York last July?" Well, I'm a busy man. I can't remember things like that, Ham. You know how it is. So I just told him, I said, "I got this little book here that I carry in my pocket, and any time anybody asks me a question, I just refer to the book. I've got everything in alphabetical order. Everything's categorized." There's a good word. Yeah. And I just refer to this book. I've got people in here that I've met, places I've been, things I've done. Everything's in alphabetical order. And he says, "Well, is your name Archie Campbell?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Were you in New York last July?" And I said, "Well, that comes under P for places." So I got it right here. I certainly was. I was in New York last July. He says, "Well, while you were there, did you by any chance meet a girl named Ruth?" I said, "Well, now, see, that comes under C for contacts." Yep, got it right there. Sure did. Met a girl named Ruth. He said, "Did you by any chance take this young lady to dinner?" I said, "Well, now, let me see. That comes under E for expenses." Sure have. I got it right here. Took Ruth to dinner. He says, "Well, now, after dinner, did you take Ruth home?" I said, "Now, let me see. That comes under P again for promotions." I got it right here. I sure did. He says, "Well, now, when you got Ruth home, did you happen to kiss her good night?" I said, "Well, now, let's see. That comes under P again for pleasure." Yeah, I got it right here. I sure did. He said, "Well, listen, Arch, I happen to be Ruth's husband, and I don't like it." I said, "Well, now, that comes under opinions." I got it right over here. I didn't like it either. I was walking in here tonight. When I came into the studio, I saw this guy down on his hands and knees, and he had his ear to the ground. Well, when I got a little closer, I saw it was an old friend of mine, a feller by the name of Thurston Springer. And he's in the radio business and so forth. You know, once in a while they kind of go off. And I thought, well, he's lost his marbles, and I'll... When they act that way, the best thing in the world to do is humor them. So I got down on my hands and knees, and I put my ear to the ground. And after about 5 minutes, I got tired, and I looked up, and I said, Thurston, I can't hear a thing. He said, I know it. It's been like that all day. This drunk was, well, he was under the influence. Yeah, he was drunk. He was standing on a corner, and there was a little puddle of water down under him, and he saw the reflection of the moon. And this cop walked by, and he says, Oscar, I want to ask you a question. He said, is that the moon down there? And the officer said, yeah, that's the moon. He said, tell me one thing, buddy, how did I get up here? These two drunks checked in a hotel, and they were really pretty well loaded, and they told the hotel clerk, they said, now, we want twin beds for sure. So they set them on up. They had twin beds, and in the condition they were, Tommy, you know how it is, they got mixed up and got into the same bed. About 10 minutes later, this one punched the other, and he said, hey, Joe, said, don't talk too loud, but there's somebody in my bed. The other one said, I know, buddy, there's somebody in my bed, too. The other said, I tell you what, let's do, said, I'll count to 3 and we'll throw them out. So he counted up to 3, and there was awful beating and banging, carrying on. About that time, a body hit the floor. This one guy said, how'd you do, Joe? And he said, I did pretty good. I throwed him out. I said, how'd you do? He said, I didn't do so well. He throwed me out. He said, that's all right, buddy. You come up here and sleep with me. I came down here from Bull's Gap today and had a good time rode on the train. I love to ride them trains. Don't you, Thurston? We had a train robbery on the way down here. I thought train robberies were over, but we really had one. This guy walked on the train, and he says, I'm Jesse James, and this is a holdup. And he said, I'm going to rob all the men and kiss all the women. That's one old boy raised up. He said, now listen here, Jesse James. He said, you can have my money, but you ain't going to kiss my wife. His wife grabbed him by the seat of the breeches and jerked him down. She said, you shut your mouth and let Jesse rob this train. And there was a man and his daughter on the train. And after the robbery was over, this father looked down and he saw his daughter's hand, saw she still had her diamond rings on. And he says, well, now, I can't understand that. He said, that thief didn't get your diamond rings. She said, oh, I thought good, Daddy. He said, I knew exactly what to do. He said, when I saw we were going to get robbed, said, I took my rings off and hid them in my mouth. He said, Lord, I wish we'd had your mother along. We'd have saved the luggage. And there was a newly married couple on the train. I noticed them. I know they were just fresh married because he was still nice to her and everything. And he was making love to his new wife, and it got right sickening. Feller, he was a Jew by the name of Red O'Donnell. And he was making love to his new wife, and he put his arm around her and put his hand up on her forehead, and he said, whose this bitty forehead is that? She said, that's yours, Red. He said, whose itsy bitsy nose is that? She said, that's yours, Red. He said, whose itsy little old big mouth is that? And she said, that's yours, Red. He said, whose itsy bitsy chin is that? She said, that's yours, Red. There was an old codger sitting across from him. He couldn't stand it any longer. He said, buddy, when you get to that umbrella, that's mine. Then I went into this washroom. We had, you know how they are, they're always crowded. And there's about 4 other guys in there washing their face and hands. And I just got my face and hands nice and soapy, and I had my face down in my hands washing away, and we rounded a curve and went into a tunnel. Well, as soon as we did, my face slipped out of my hands and right into the hands of the guy next to me. And he just kept washing, didn't know the difference. I reached over and punched him. I said, "Excuse me, buddy, but that's my face you're washing." He says, "Well, that's funny. Somebody must have mine then." The fellow next to him says, "Well, I guess I got your face, 'cause the face I'm washing's been talking and I ain't said a word for 5 minutes." One guy on there had a monkey on the train. And, well, as a trained monkey, hey, that works out good, doesn't it? And this monkey, I tried to be friendly with it. I try to be friendly with everybody, even monkeys. And I kept playing with the monkey, and the monkey kept making faces at me. And if there's anything that makes me mad, Leslie, it's for a monkey to make faces at me. So finally the conductor came through, and I just told him, I said, "Conductor, do you allow monkeys on this train?" He said, "No, but keep quiet and maybe nobody will notice you." And that made me mad, and I took that right hand of mine and I hit him once, and then I got up. Then I hit him right in the end of the fist with my nose. Then I pulled my secret weapon. Everybody's got a secret weapon, and I got one too. I stuck him right in the finger with one of my eyes. Like to put his darn finger out. And then I got him down, right on top of me. I put my ear in his mouth. Made him chew on that a while, old B. Working on his teeth. Ruin a man's teeth that way. I saw then it was about time I was putting the finishing touches on him, so I backed off, took a running shot, and I lammed him right in the knee at the pit of my stomach. And that's when I knocked him out. I know he was knocked out because when he came to, I was laying there unconscious. Come in from up home, up in Bull's Gap. Great little city up there. I love that town. That's my home. It's a nice little town, about 1,000 people. We got a paper. Of course, we don't really need a paper up there, to tell you the truth, because everybody knows what everybody else is doing. The only reason we take the paper is just to see who got caught at it. And the girls up there are so ugly, I'll swear. Well, we had a beauty contest one time, and everybody lost. In the summer, we go swimming. We got the finest swimming hole up there, old B, that you ever saw in your life. It's deep. It'll come up way up to your, it's according to how tall you are. About 3 years ago, or something like that, this bunch of fellers up on the side of the mountain there was making moonshine right above. Thank you. There's a bunch of fellas up on the side of the mountain making moonshine right above our swimming hole. The revenuers came in and busted that thing up. I never saw as many happy birds on the side of a mountain in my life. And eating that mash, but all that moonshine poured off down the mountain and filled our swimming hole up with that pure stuff, Worked out pretty good. We had people going swimming that summer. It hadn't been in years. And a lot of the fellers go swimming that couldn't even swim at all. They'd just go wading, They'd wade in up about their nose. Just stand there and grin all day long. Eyes bloodshot, look like road maps. We had a lot of drownings that summer, but I'll tell you one thing, when they came up the third time, they had a smile on their face. But one of these days, I'm going back to Bull's Gap and do something for them wonderful people, because they need help up there. I may even run for office. And when I am elected mayor of Bull's Gap, I'm going to do something for the farmer. Buddy, I don't recognize your face, but your breath's familiar. I'm going back and run for mayor, and when I am elected, I'm going to do something for the farmer. I'll tell you, the corn crops up there are terrible. They don't get over 3 or 4 gallons to the acre. And when I'm elected, I'm going to do something about the corn crop.
What about the hay?
The hay. Buddy, I'm going to come back here in a minute and knock you conscious. Another thing, when I am elected mayor of Bull's Gap, I'm going to do something about the wheat crop.
What about the hay?
Buddy, I'm talking about food for human beings. We'll get around to you jackasses later.